Dr. Velthar of the Galactic Institute of Applied Biology had dissected over 600 species, but nothing had prepared him for the creature on the observation table, a human. The first specimen the Institute had ever legally obtained. He paced around the reinforced glass chamber, his tendrils coiling in anticipation as his research team huddled round the monitors. Their mission was simple: study the biological systems of this strange, mythologized species the galaxy knew only through rumor and fear. Begin ocular scan, Velthar ordered. The human remained surprisingly still, almost relaxed, as if he were on a lounge bed instead of surrounded by armed guards and security fields. His eyelids fluttered open, revealing the very organs that had fueled centuries of whispered stories. Eyes, twin spheres of deceptive softness, framed by muscle, anchored by nerve, and glowing with an alertness no prey species should ever possess. Velthar leaned closer to the monitor. Increase magnification. I want full analysis down to the microvascular level. The image sharpened, and the room fell silent. What they saw defied biology as they understood it. Each eye adjusted independently, micromuscles shifting with impossible precision. The iris contracted, dilated, and refocused in fractions of a second. Light was captured, analyzed, and translated into neural data faster than the Institute's own high-grade scanners. Then came the most terrifying part. The human looked directly at the camera, not just at the room, but into the lens, pinpointing the exact sensor behind it, and tracking Velthar's face through layers of shielding. Is that possible? Whispered one assistant, her fronds trembling. Velthar didn't answer. The human smiled. A wave of unease rippled through the team, and they instinctively stepped back from the monitors. Rewind that, Velthar snapped. Playback at 1/10 speed. The footage replayed, the subtle shift of the pupils, the precise recalibration of focus, the exact triangulation of Velthar's position. It was as if the human's eyes were calculating, not just observing. Run targeting algorithms, Velthar said, hoping the data would prove them wrong. A computer's process, then through an error. What is this? He demanded. The technician exchanged a nervous look with her colleague. Sir, the human's visual tracking patterns produce predictive accuracy higher than our military weapon sights, including the Jari. Smartlance? Velthar asked in disbelief. All of them, she whispered. The human's visual system outperforms every targeting AI currently in existence. A cold dread swept through the room. The human blinked slowly, calmly, not the blink of a creature confused or afraid. It was the blink of a creature waiting, studying, calculating. When the escort guards entered to reposition the subject, they carried shock staffs and wore full exo-armor. No chances were being taken. Human, one guard barked, moved to the central platform. The human stood effortlessly, stretching as though waking from a nap. He scanned the guards with a single, measuring sweep of his gaze. Oh, sir, the guard closest to Velthar swallowed hard. He knows our weak points. Velthar stiffened. How could he? The guard gestured with trembling hands. He keeps glancing at the joints of our armor, the neck seals, the weapon latches. Every time we move, his eyes tracked the smallest shifts. The human just tilted his head. Looking amused, Velthar activated the intercom. Human subject, identify your purpose for tracking the guards. The human shrugged. Force of habit. I guess. Habit, Velthar echoed. Your species trains children to analyze combat targets. The human chuckled. No, we're just built this way. The room erupted into frantic whispers. Built this way, as if this terrifying targeting capacity was innate. Not trained. Velthar steadied himself. Human, what is your name? The human looked straight into the nearest camera again. Sergeant Mason Hale, military of course. But then Mason leaned closer to the lens, his voice dropping to a conversational tone. You wanted to know why my eyes scare you, he asked softly. Because humans don't just look at things. He paused, letting the silence hang in the air. We looked through them. The lights in the chamber dimmed, and Mason's pupils adjusted instantly, perfectly, unnervingly. Velthar felt an ancient, instinctive fear surge in his chest. The rumors were true. Humans weren't predators. They were something far worse, something that hunted with thought alone. Panic filled the observation deck long after Sergeant Mason Hale's chilling words faded. I stood frozen, caught between a scientist's curiosity and the primal urge to run. Humans were supposed to be subjects, not predators, not like this, but the Institute demanded data. And I, Velthar, renowned xenobiologist, would not yield to fear. Prepare task sequence 2, I ordered, my voice more stable than I felt. Let's find the true limits of human visual capacity. Technicians hurried to their stations, the lights dimmed, panels shifted, and the air hummed with power as the predictive motion maze activated. This holographic simulation was designed to test the reflexes of the galaxy's most advanced hunters. Through the intercom, I instructed, "Human, remain still until the sequence begins." Mason just rolled his shoulders. "Ready when you are." The chamber burst to life. Hundreds of glowing spheres materialized, darting and zigzagging through the air. They vanished and reappeared, spiraling in patterns meant to be utterly unpredictable. Even the lightning-fast Cathari raptors could barely track 3 at a time. I watched Mason. He didn't even blink. His pupils dilated, contracted, sharpened. Tiny muscles around his eyes adjusted with impossible speed. He stood perfectly still, a statue scanning everything at once. "Begin task," I announced. A single instruction appeared on his monitor. "Tag target spheres by pointing at them." The spheres erupted into a chaotic swarm. Mason's arm moved like a blur. Point, 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 point. For spheres marked in less than a second. "Slow it down," I ordered, my fronds trembling. "Replay." Now, the footage revealed the impossible. Mason had tracked 8 different vectors simultaneously, predicted their future paths, and selected the 4 most difficult targets to hit instantly. "That can't be," a technician whispered beside me, as if to mock us. Mason casually pointed out for more spheres. This time without even turning his head, his eyes darted, locked, and calculated. The test shut down automatically, overwhelmed by data errors. I felt a cold dread wash over me. I think we were beginning to understand why human soldiers were so feared. But Mason wasn't done. He stretched his arms, as if he was just warming up. "Is that it?" he asked, his voice laced with boredom. I thought this was supposed to be a challenge. One of my technicians fainted. Next came the dynamic threat simulation. This test assessed real-time combat awareness. Holographic enemies materialized from thin air creatures with blades and claws, soldiers with plasma rifles, beasts charging from every angle. "Begin," I whispered. The chamber became a vortex of violence. Yet, Mason's eyes moved with a supernatural calm. He wasn't just reacting to threats, he was anticipating them. A beast lunged from his left. He sidestepped before its projection had even fully formed. A sniper appeared behind him. He ducked before its rifle finished charging. A blade swung down from above. He leaned back without ever looking up. "Sir," one of my researchers gasped. "He's reacting before the stimuli even finish rendering. He's predicting," I murmured, my voice shaking. "Perfectly." Then, every simulated enemy attacked at once, and Mason closed his eyes. Yet he still avoided every single blow. How is he doing that?" I demanded into the intercom. Mason opened his eyes, their color catching the light like twin supernovas. "Humans don't just react, we see patterns, micro-movements, shifts in the air, the way light reflects off surfaces. We track everything, even subconsciously." I gripped the console, my knuckles white. "But, with your eyes closed." He just shrugged. "Memory, sound, instinct." He grinned. "And a little bit of good luck." The simulation ended abruptly. All of our data trackers were fry. Security teams rushed in to escort Mason back to his holding cell. But he didn't move. He looked up, straight at me, as if the reinforced glass and armored walls between us were nothing. "Doctor," he said quietly, "you've been trying to understand what makes human eyesight so dangerous." I forced myself to meet that piercing gaze. "Yes, you're studying the wrong thing." The silence in the room was thick enough to cut. "Our eyes aren't weapons," Mason continued. "They're instruments. The real threat is the brain behind them." His stare softened, but that only made it more terrifying. "Humans don't just see the world. We interpret it, predict it, shape it. Give us a battlefield, a storm, or a pitch-black room, we'll find a way to win." I finally found my voice. "And why are you telling me this?" Mason smiled. "Because your people are already afraid of our eyes. If you ever saw what they're connected to, you'd realize your worst fears were understatements." The guards hesitantly took his arms, and he leaned back. "Humans," he added with a wink, "aren't nature's deadliest targeters. We're nature's deadliest thinkers." I watched in stunned silence as they led him away. I had set out to study human biology. Instead, I discovered a biological weapon walking in the shape of a man. And it had stared back at me with eyes that could see through anything: walls, simulations, and fear itself.